So we are live, and I'll just wait for 2 minutes. People to join in. So earlier you used to do it on Zoom, and then a lot of people requested that if you guys are doing it on Zoom, might as well do it on LinkedIn Live, where they could also interact and make it more personal. So we said,
Absolutely.
okay, let's do that. So we do LinkedIn Lives like almost every day. Okay, so
Fantastic. Wow.
yeah. Sometimes yes, I do. Sometimes there is a little bit of inconsistency, but we do try.
That's amazing. And to find people who are, wanting to talk about themselves every day, I think this is a great platform because people like me don't actually end up doing that. We're
Yeah,
so caught
you
up with work
yeah,
that,
yeah, true.
we don't think of putting ourselves out there in a live format.
True. But so Pallavi, like a lot of our readers tell us, like, we want to speak to this person. So when I said, we have to speak to Pallavi, so many people were like, hey, I want to build transfer pricing. I want to know how, there are very few, first of all, women, what are they doing? So inspiration on those lines. And you've got a fantastic journey, to be very honest. And I see a lot of your posts always on the go doing stuff. Okay, so we have people joining in. So, hi everyone, welcome to the Finance Story Daily, where we bring you insights, market trends, and stories to enable you make better decisions. So, there's so much happening in India today, and everyone is looking at India for the right reasons. The Finance Story Daily is a series to start a conversation and exchange ideas. India has thousands of mid-sized and small firms. So many young CAs want to start their entrepreneurial journey, and those already in practice want to know, what growth can they expect. So our topic for today is discussing opportunities for CA firms in India's evolving economy. And to help us understand more on this, we have with us Pallavi Dinodia, who is the partner at SR Dinodia and Company, a 72-year-old firm in India. So, what is unique about Pallavi is she saw an opportunity in international taxation and transfer pricing, picked that as a niche, and has excelled in it. Pallavi is also going to talk about the importance of specialization in today's time, of course, her firm's journey, the challenges, and the opportunities they foresee. So, Pallavi, thank you so much for joining in and for taking the time, to be on the finance story. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Pallavi. And thank you, everybody, for joining in. You can type in your questions and we will take it right away. So, Pallavi, my first question for you is, when I was going through your LinkedIn profile and doing my research, right? In a world where we're told to be practical, your motto has always been to be a believer, dreamer. So, why and what does it mean in your words? And how is this, this motto transpired in shaping your career and life in general? If you could highlight that.
So I'll tell you why when I was putting out my LinkedIn profile, I didn't think, I didn't write SR Dinodia and partner and all of that first. I mean, obviously that's what I do, right? And I wanted to put out there who I am. There are such few forums where you can truly say who you are, right? So I thought that this actually describes me because believer first. So I'll start with believer. So believer because I had to inculcate the self belief in me. I was not born with it. I was not one of those people who woke up one day and said I'm great at everything. So I first had a lot of self doubt. I still have it. I mean, there are days that I still have it. So I had a lot of self doubt. I didn't believe that I could, do it. I was in a family of achievers. Everybody before me was a gold medalist and CA one shot and all of that. So I had to learn to believe in myself. So the believer comes from actually reinforcing to me every day. And I tell a lot of people who see this successful Pallavi Dinodia that I didn't wake up successful. I've worked really hard for the last 20 years to get here. So I think the first thing is to believe in yourself. And once you believe in yourself, then to believe that you can dream a dream, right? And that's the dreamer part, that to do something different, to do something out of the box. I think there's a lot of people who talk about that dreaming is not enough, you have to do, etc. Obviously you have to do, there's no shortcut to that, but you need to dream that dream, right? You need to know that what is it that you can do out of the box. And then you have to be enthusiastic about it. You can't not be passionate,
Yeah.
you have to be passionate about your dream. You have to work towards it every day. So
Yeah.
therefore the tag of believer, dreamer, enthusiast, because I today believe in myself, and today some part of my dream is mid, it's mid journey, right? So you're somewhere in the middle of that dream. Look, you can see it coming true, and you have to continuously be passionate about it, and you have to have that enthusiasm every day, even if you've achieved what you achieved. So yeah, that's why the believer, dreamer, enthusiast.
That's amazing. I would have never guessed that you did not believe in yourself. Like in fact, I told you I was a little nervous while prepping for this. I was like, oh my god. So that's great. So Pallavi, would you want to tell us a little bit about you, your journey, okay? And then, of course, including that in your career as well. And how have you evolved to be such a confident person? What is your process? How is your mindset?
So I think confidence as a professional comes from being more right than not. So, and the only way to do that is to work consistently. And so my process is just honestly hard work and putting in that extra, reading more, discussing more, always being a learner. Like the junior most person in my team can come today to my room and say, I don't agree with your view, right? To have that openness to say that, okay, I may not always be right, but to constantly learn and to constantly, be open to learning. I think that is something that I've created and been open to. So I think that has been the cornerstone of my career. And you asked me why transfer pricing and why international tax.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it seems very, very glamorous today,
Yeah.
but when I started out, nobody wanted to do it. And I often tell people I'm Destiny's Child. What nobody wants to do lines up at my doorstep. And then I don't know how to say no. I don't know if it's my issue, if it's a woman problem. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to say no. So I've taken up things that nobody wanted to do.
Yeah.
And in 2004, 2005, when transfer pricing came in, everybody was very busy doing everything else. And that's how I started doing this, which nobody wanted to do. And I was lucky that it sort of, the world went towards it and it exploded. So just, yeah, plain lucky and a lot of hard work.
Amazing, amazing. So SR Dinodia is, it's a 72-year-old firm, right? It has a legacy of its own. How and why did you decide, that you want to be a part of it? Why CA? Why not an MBA, from anywhere else? Why choose the tough path? CA is a tough path. So how did you get into CA?
So honestly, I got into CA because I didn't want to get married. I
Okay.
thought that CA will take some time, and maybe I won't pass, and maybe I'll get those years on. So it was a mixed bag. I thought that my family, you see, Dinodia, we were a conservative Indian family. My grandfather always thought that CA is for boys. They expected my brother to do it. So a little bit was rebellion. Everybody expected me to do MBA and economics honors and have a nice corporate job or be married and bringing up children. Uh, I started doing it because they thought I couldn't do it. And then I went forward with it because I thought that, it'll help me stay away from getting married. I cleared very quickly. That's another story.
Yeah.
But, and I never found it tough. That's my other boon, or I'm that person, like they say in CA, that when you get a really easy question as a CA, you feel the question is wrong. How can
Yeah.
it be so easy?
Yeah.
So I'm one of those who never found CA difficult. I still don't find complex problems very difficult. I'm gifted maybe like that, that I can sort of cut through the chase and get to the heart of the problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, just that I didn't think it would be difficult.
Amazing, amazing. So that's how CA happened, and you eventually joined the practice. Okay,
No, so
and there's
Chantal, I started in the practice as a PN. I was
okay.
the photocopy person, I was the coffee person, I was the person required to find files from the record room. That's how I started. I didn't have a glamorous rise, and I didn't parachute to the top, I
Yeah.
started by doing everything. And I think for the first few years, they wanted to see whether I'll stick, So the toughest, most difficult things which nobody wanted to do again, I was asked to do. So when they thought that okay, I'll stick, then they gave me audits in articleship. I had the worst audits. Worked till 2 a.m., left at 6 a.m., went for some disaster audits to cyclone hit areas of the country, afforestation in states where there was no law and order. I was the only girl on the team. So did all of that till they realized that she's here. She's
Yeah.
not going to go.
Yeah.
And that's when I think they started giving me more responsibility. Then the clients start trusting. In services business, it's not because your father is great or your grandfather is great or you have a team of people that are great. I think in services, people come to you for you and what you bring to the table. So you may have a great legacy, but if you can't, deliver on it consistently, I think the legacy is of a services business at least is as good as you are or as good as your last advice.
Amazing. So you proved yourself every single step, and that's how you evolved to the person you are.
Yeah, and even till today, right? Like if you give, even today, if I give a client bad advice, it's not going to be my client tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you have to build your own brand. You have to build your own integrity, your own expertise, your own professionalism.
Amazing. Amazing. I have this next question for you. I would really like to talk a little bit about your firm. It has such a rich history. 1952, how did it start? The ICI was formed in 1949. 52, the firm starts. And how have you guys grown over the years? You're the third generation, right? What has been the growth phases, the challenges, and what has helped you guys stay relevant even today? It's a very long question, I know, but if you could
No
help
problem.
us.
So the firm started. So my grandfather was a part of the income tax department, and he had 4 children. So my grandmother actually told him one day that we can't sustain on your salary. You have 4 children, so you have to think about something. So then he thought, okay, he quit the IRS and he started the firm. He was essentially a guy who knew tax. It was evolving in India at that time. It was still the 1922 Act. He had seen it inside out. So
Yeah.
that's how we started. And then over time, it grew. My father joined him. Then my father grew the practice. My uncle joined. He grew the practice. So we all came into the firm contributing our own sort of areas of what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And collectively, we sort of grew it. From domestic tax to then audits, from audits to international tax, litigations. So it grew in an organic way where the family was very open, you know, to growth and open to trying new things. I mean, it's in public domain. We started an office in Pune
Yeah.
in 2015 or 16, I think. And it's something that I wanted to do. I was seeing all these firms start these branch offices all over the country. And so our governing council said, okay, well, if you want to do it, you take charge of it. I started it, it worked for 5 years. And then in COVID, I felt like we couldn't do justice to it. And so we shut it. It was a failure. So I think a lot of people talk about their successes, but I think there is no better teacher than failure, you know and so I started that office. I failed at it. Today it's shut. I'm still in touch with my partners. In fact, spoke to them yesterday. They're doing really well. They've grown from where they were telling me that it's my grandfather's blessings, and maybe it was their destiny and our destiny to come together for 5 years, and now they're really growing, and they struggled before having joined us. So who knows, right?
Yeah.
And I think we are relevant today because we've embraced the culture. Today when we interview people, we don't expect them to be who the people who joined us 20 years ago. People join you for 20 years, 10 years, 30 years. Today that's not relevant. Today the young generation is like, what will you do for us? What will I learn? How will I grow in 12 months? What will I do every 3 months? You have to remain relevant, and you have to deliver value to each person, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's your employee, whether it's your client, whether it's the country, whether it's the society at large. So you remain relevant by being a person who can add value, a firm that can add value to their lives. So I think that's how we've remained relevant. Also, to be on the top of any change
Yeah.
and adapt. Digital India is today a reality. AI today is a reality. So if you don't adapt to technology, you don't adapt to AI, I mean, you will be left behind,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you have to consistently adapt. You may not be able to be that firm that is pan India presence and has 50 branch offices and 800 people. You can't be that because maybe that's not in your DNA. But what is in your DNA, if you're good at that, I think that should be enough.
Okay, so this is amazing. What you're saying is everyone doesn't have to grow into 1,000, 2,000 member firm, and just because India is growing, just go all out, right? You can focus on what you believe in and what you want to do, and that can also exponentially grow. Maybe not in terms of numbers, but in terms of value add, in terms of revenue, and in terms of different aspects. Are you talking on those lines?
Absolutely. You see Shark Tank every day. They finally tell you what is your profit, right? What are you taking home? So if
Yeah,
you're taking home as much as you want in terms of what you are doing and you're happy with it, why should you want to be very large? Like, I'm nothing against those that are very large.
yeah,
Uh, but I mean, I feel like we're always running and we're always aspiring, which is again good, but sometimes we lose track of who we are.
yeah.
you know do you want to be with a small team? Do you want to be the best at what you do, or do you want to be a large multidisciplinary firm where you're one of the many? So the choice is yours.
Amazing, amazing. So, Pallavi, would you want to add a little bit more, okay, and deep dive a little bit more as to what has been the playbook or your playbook at at SR Dinodia, okay? How are you looking at the years to come in, okay, and what strategy are you following? Like, what is the strategy? And if there are a lot of firms who want to really make a mark for themselves, or they're smaller firms, smaller teams, what should they be doing, and what are you guys doing to do the same?
So our firm is not in every vertical. So for example, maybe valuations or M&A, things like that, we are not in that vertical. We are, somebody was telling me the other day that you're still vanilla. You're not doing a lot of the things everybody else is doing. And yeah, we are vanilla and we are a very good vanilla flavor. you know so I think our playbook is to grow what we are good at, which is our audit and tax practice, and if and create process. So after you reach a certain size and scale, let's take audit for example, you can't be dependent on a person. You
Yeah,
can't say that I'm going to still do things manually. You can't do that, because let's say you're auditing a large company. You can't start looking at every voucher and doing how we used to do earlier. So you have to invest in technology, and then when you grow, you have to invest in technology also for your people. You can't be doing manual payrolls, you can't be doing manual audits, you have to invest in software. So for our audit function, for example, we are investing and have invested in technology, which has helped us reduce our audit time, which has helped us reduce our risk, which has helped us reduce dependency on people.
yeah,
And not to say that you don't, that jobs are affected. Jobs are not affected because ultimately people want to do value addition.
yeah,
So something that a software or a machine can do,
yeah,
which was taking up your time but not using your mind,
yeah,
you can move away from people, right? So I think that we are aggressively doing in our audit function. In our tax function, also things like, research, for example, a lot of AI has come into tax research.
yeah,
So you have to move to AI for tax research. And then once you get a result, like, so if you can go from 0 to 60 through AI, then
yeah,
60 to 100 gets much easier, by applying your mind to it and then seeing what more you can do for it,
yeah,
right? So in our tax practice also, we are trying to use a lot of AI to help us research for our litigation practice. So I think we are looking at the future, and we're looking at more and more people wanting to do value addition work, and not wanting to be stuck in that regular old school, how it used to be. So that's what we are doing at the firm. We are also decentralizing a lot. Earlier it was, even decision making, even small stuff used to always, somebody from management would have to give approval. We're decentralizing everything again based on software and processes. You put it in the software, it automatically generates, goes up the ladder, somebody will give you an approval. So we're also trying to decentralize away from the family, right, and bring in more people for growth. And there are people who've been with us for a long time. And traditionally, when we were in the partnership structure, we had issues about liability. Now with LLPs, that's all gone away. So you need to trust people. I feel like in CA, if you see our statistics, they say most CA firms are today still proprietorships.
Yeah.
And there are very few CA firms who have 20 partners plus. And we are somewhere in the double digits for, 6 partners plus. I think it's the trust deficit that we have as CAs. And I think it's because we are taught to always find the fault.
Yeah.
We are always taught what can go wrong.
Yeah.
So we are so wired on the negative that we fail to see that if we don't do this, then what will happen. So sometimes I think it's good to see the positive, but as a CA, it's something we have to learn. It's not
Yeah.
something that we are taught.
Yeah.
Um, so therefore, I think that we have to create a trust um, sort of bank where we can invest more in people. And somebody had asked me this last week, that
Yeah.
you have policies and then people take advantage of those policies, and then why should corporates and why should companies
Yeah.
continue to believe? And I was telling them last week that, as a corporate, as a firm, it is our job to continue to believe. If it's everything can't be the government, we have to believe that there are good people out there. If you do it 10 times, maybe 2 people will misuse it,
Yeah.
but what about those 8 people who truly benefited?
Yeah.
By stopping doing good things, then you're actually taking away the benefit from those 8. And what you do is your karma, right? Your karma stops at doing. What the other person does with it is their karma. So therefore, I think you have to continue to do, you have to continue to trust in people.
That's an amazing message, and I think everyone watching will also relate to it, right? Because sometimes when you try to do the right thing, and have that open mind, there's always going to be someone and somewhere which hits you in the wrong strike, right? But you have to keep going and stay on your path. That's amazing. Okay, Pallavi, I want to ask you about technology. Right now, a lot of firms will have to adopt to technology. Like, how do you understand technology? Do you have somebody as a consultant coming in and telling, hey, you got to do this, you have to automate this? And how does it work? What's the technology adoption process like?
So I wish that it was like that. I wish I had found that person.
Okay.
I actually had found that person. He was my go-to person for many things.
Okay.
Um, and then today he's the founder of a very successful unicorn.
Okay.
And he was one guy who used to, when he started giving me technology jargon, I remember that I started rattling off a section of the Income Tax Act. And he looked at me and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Exactly what you are doing. You're talking to me in technology, which I don't understand, and I'm talking to you in tax because you don't understand it." So I think technology adoption needs to be made very easy. I think the ones on the technology side don't understand how CAs work, think, and function. We are very micro, we are very detailed oriented, we are very fact based, and technology's jargon doesn't always work for us.
Yeah.
So I wish that we did have somebody who bridges that gap. And I do now know CAs who have sort of transitioned to the other side. They are now working in technology companies where they are trying to reach out to CAs and say that I was a CA and
Yeah.
I faced this problem, and now I'm working in a technology company and I can give you a solution, right? So, technology adoption process for us as a firm has also been a tightrope. You know, we were trying to do technology adoption pre-COVID, and we couldn't do it. again, this was one of the other failures that we had, where we got in technology, we invested in it, and as partners of the firm, we said, okay, this is rolled out now, and nobody used it, right? And then COVID hit, and people were suddenly at home, and then we went back to that technology and said, okay, but now try it, right? So I think that you first have to have stakeholders who believe that technology will ease their lives and not make it more complicated. I think that's one. So we started really slow. We started doing the easiest thing, which is attendance. I used to hate it when I used to get that call from office saying client pe pahunch gaye, meeting pe pahunch gaye, and things like that. I mean, and that when you're out of office, that's truly, I mean, most CA firms do that,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't like that. So the first thing we did is we automated in attendance, and it was simple. Your phone is GPS enabled. You
Yeah.
check in from anywhere, you check out from anywhere. Then we integrated payroll in it. Then we integrated you know leaves and leave records in it. So technology adoption for us as a firm, Chantal, I should say, has been slow. Um, but we and but we are nimble, because we are not very large. We can start stop, we can
Yeah.
adjust. We tried a software for payroll last year which didn't work, so we then transitioned to another one. So it's I'm not saying that we are today as a firm completely on technology. We are not. For us also, we're learning, we're changing, we're nimble. What doesn't work, we transition, we move to something else. But yeah, I don't have a person who comes in and tells me that, Pallavi, this should now be, you know, done by technology.
Yeah.
Mostly it's my team that comes in and says, ma'am, this is waste of our time. Can we find a solution? So instead
Amazing.
of doing a top down approach, trying to do a bottom up approach.
Amazing. So it's a journey. Basically, it's a journey.
Absolutely. It is a journey.
Amazing. You spoke about talent, right? As you rightly mentioned, talent of today is not like earlier, where they won't come and tell you up on your face. It's going to be like, what am I? It's more like they also ask questions, and it's bold, big questions. And we all know that talent will be here for like 1 year, 2 years, and everybody is so ambitious today. They want to explore, right? So how do you handle this? Like, do you hire people who you know that hey, they might not even stick around? Like, what is your talent acquisition strategy, and how do you deal with the very minded Gen Zs bold enough to ask questions?
So, um, I believe that skill can be taught,
Yeah,
but who you are can't be changed. So when I hire people, I don't hire them for talent. I hire them for who they are. Because talent, I can teach. Tax, I can teach. So I have not honestly had that problem where people have come for a short duration and then wanted to move on, and I wasn't ready for it.
yeah,
I mean, I agree. I tell my husband this all the time, that you're the only guy who can't leave me, right? So everybody else, I think it's great to have ambition, and I'm very proud of all those people who have moved on from the firm and today are doing very well. Whether it's in industry, it's in other CA firms, it's wherever they are in life. I'm in touch with a lot of them. I think if you have to believe that you are part of somebody else's journey, and that they are not part of, you know, they are not required to take you further. You are required to take them further, right? So when people join you, they get what they want from you and they move on. And you should be really happy for them to have moved on. I mean, I'm not the type to hold on to people and say, oh, but, you were required to stay on. It's okay. And I think
that,
because of that, people don't leave. I mean, I have to tell my team sometimes in the evenings that go home. Your families are going to tell me that, even when it's not peak time, you're sitting here. Please
yeah,
go home.
yeah.
I mean, I'm in touch with people's families. They reach out to me. The wives will tell me what's happening in their homes. I'll get messages saying it's annual day. Can you let him take some half a day? He's feeling difficulty in asking you. Or,
Oh,
so, and I have a really strong grey point. So I know what's happening, you know. So when I see a person even passing me by in the corridor, I'll stop and say, oh, but your mom was not well, or you know, you were not there that day, is everything okay? I think today after COVID, we want to feel more human, we want to feel more
Yeah,
connected.
yeah,
Work is something we do, it doesn't define who we are, you know. So I think you have to invest in people and not look at them like talent. You have to look at them as people.
yeah. Which is so true because we also have a recruitment firm and we recruit for certain large banks, okay, which pay really well, but their work life balance is totally offbeat, right? So we at least had 10 candidates who accepted big fat salaries and then withdrew and said, you know what, I don't want this, I'm going to go to a place where it's easy. And this happened for the first time. I was so surprised. So people's mindset have shifted totally. It's you cannot just get them with a big salary. They want culture. They want a place where they are like, they like to be around. That's so important. Yeah, that's great.
And you would want that for yourself. If I
Yeah,
mean, you would
yeah,
want that for yourself. Why should you not give it
yeah,
to others?
yeah. And the pandemic changed it all. It created a
Yeah, and
shift.
that's what happened. I think we needed a wake up call. We
Yeah,
were all in this rat race of how much money we're earning and where we are going.
yeah.
I mean, you know, I think it was required.
Yeah, yeah. Pallavi, can you take us through, how did you build, a credible name for yourself in the transfer pricing international tax space? And if somebody wants to do the same, what would be your playbook? What is the step-by-step process that they could take from you?
So I don't know how many people want to be in this transfer pricing and international tax space.
Yeah,
I've reached a stage where people are now telling me, "Ki stop saying that you're doing international tax and transfer pricing because transfer pricing has reached, you know, sort of a plateau where most of the controversies are now settled. There are very few controversies left. You know, it's become a lot more on compliance. Things have eased out. The rules that were, you know, in that flux when it came for the last 10 years has pretty much settled down. So I'm not sure that I would advise young people today to, you know, go with transfer pricing as a future career
amazing.
because it's 5 or 6 sections in the Income Tax Act, right? I mean, you have to be an MBBS first to be a cardiologist. So similarly, you have to be a great CA in tax first to be a good transfer pricing consultant as well, right?
Yeah,
So I think that was some advice given to me by somebody very senior. So I'm honestly passing it on because today it resonates with me. When he told me this 5 years ago,
yeah,
I didn't quite get it, you know. But today, when I see that in transfer pricing, the world has actually flattened. You know, we have now CBCR and we have master file, and now we're talking about BEPS pillar 2, where the world will just converge, you
yeah,
know, and globe rules and things like that. So I think transfer pricing has become really small. But yes, international tax for sure is something that will take center stage again. So to me, international tax and transfer pricing was a cycle. There was a lot of international tax when India liberalized, you know, in the 90s, and then in the 2000s we had transfer pricing, and now we're going back to international tax. So anybody who wants to do international tax, I think first should do the institute's course on uh, advanced course on international tax and transfer pricing. I think that's a very good place to start. The institute has a great sort of compact course where they give you all the basics. They teach you all the first principles. So I think that's a great place to start. And then if you can work with somebody who is doing this kind of work, you know, you learn on the go. So first you have to educate yourself, and then you have to, you know, gain your experience. So I think that's what I would advise people to do.
okay. So Pallavi, if I'm a tax professional, okay, or I'm a CA fresher, or I'm already a tax professional, as you said, like the scope in transfer pricing it's a cycle, and now it's very small right now, right? So how do I navigate my career then? What do I do next? If I already have experience in TP or I'm in tax, how do I plan my career ahead?
No, so uh, it depends where you are in your career. If you're in corporate tax and you want to move to transfer pricing and international tax, then you need to first do the course of the institute. you should get your certification, and that will open up doors, to be able to work with people who are doing this. I think in your career, if ever you want to do a switch,
Yeah.
which is from any field of taxation to another field, any field of CA that you were working in to another field, you need to re-educate yourself. We are in a very intense study slash regulated profession, right? So if you don't have the skills, then nobody is willing to take that bet on you, to teach you. Nobody today has that time to, everybody wants the person to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
So if you come in with no skill but with experience, which is not relevant, then people won't hire you.
Yeah.
Then you're not willing to take you don't want to take a salary cut, right? In Hindi they say कि जब आमदनी बढ़ती है तो खर्चे automatically बढ़ जाते हैं. So if you've grown already in the field that you're in, and your expense is now not allowing you to switch fields and take a cut, then you need to upskill, you know. So I think that's how you should navigate your career. You should think about where you want to be next, how you can upskill yourself to be in that new role, and then actively work towards seeking that new role.
Amazing. So if you were 25-year-old today and you have to start your career in tax, how would you shape it? Would you even choose tax? What is it that you would choose today?
I think I would choose tax every day.
Okay.
Even at 25, yeah, I love it. I'm one of those people who is blessed, and loves what she does. I mean, I don't feel stuck. I don't feel like, oh, I have to go to work today. I love it. I mean, when I'm sick, my family throws me out of the house and says, please go to work. So so I would choose tax any day. But if I was 25 again, I would honestly upskill myself. I feel like there are things that have changed. Even when I did tax, and I learned tax, we were not taught international tax. We were
Yeah.
not taught what the first principles of international tax are. We had to read, we had to, see what's happening outside, we had to attend conferences to understand where the world was in international tax, because India was always behind.
Yeah.
Now, I think for a 25-year-old, opportunity is unreal from what it used to be, because today India is at the forefront. You are part of a country's growth story, where the country is now looking at being in the top 5 or the top 7 in the world very quickly.
Yeah.
So you have to upskill yourself. If you want to go into tax, then you have, and if specifically international tax, then you have to upskill yourself. If I was 25, I would be doing the course, I would be learning, I would be asking the questions. There are so many things that I want to ask questions on. There are globe rules. Yesterday, I was sitting down with printouts of how BEPS Pillar 2 will be implemented. You know, I wish that I could go back to a classroom and sit there and have somebody explain to me, like, this is the format, this is how it's going to be done, and do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Right? So I think 25-year-olds today have a great opportunity where they have the ability to go back into a classroom. And I think they should take advantage of that.
Amazing. So Pallavi, what is your advice? I would say, or from your experience, there are a lot of CA firms today, right? As you said, India is growing. It's in the limelight for the right reason, and it's genuine, right? So if I'm a CA firm, if I have a CA firm, what should I be thinking? What opportunities do you foresee, or you already seeing, which I could tap into as a CA firm, as a CA practice?
So, as a CA firm, if you wanted to if you wanted to do new things,
Yeah.
you have to first have people who can deliver on those new things.
Yeah.
So, I think you can't wait for the client to come to you and then hire the people. You have to first invest in the people. You have to invest in your team. And then you have to put yourself out there, where you can say that, okay, now I have this ability to deliver on XYZ work, whether it's in GST or it's in audit or it's in forensic or valuations, whichever field you choose to do it in. You have to first build your team,
Yeah.
and then when you build your team, you have to put yourself out there to say that now I can deliver on this problem or this query. And maybe initially you'll have to do a lot of work for free, and so be it. Or you have to be there in conferences, you have to be able to speak in things, you have to, how do you put the word out there? As CA firms, we're not allowed to solicit.
Yeah.
How does somebody know that now today suddenly I can do GST and not just income tax?
Yeah.
3 conferences I go to, I speak on GST, and suddenly people will be like, oh, she knows GST also, right? I mean, that's the only way that, or word of mouth. You get a client who believes in you, you deliver on a new thing, then that client will go to someone else and say, oh, but they also could do this for you. So if you're a CA firm that wants to get into a new thing, first invest in your people, create a team, then invest in being out there, putting the word out there that now you're, also capable of delivering on certain new areas. And if you're good at it, people will come to you.
Amazing. You have to put yourself out there. That's important. You
Yeah.
can't just say I'm good at my work and be behind the scenes. That's a great message.
I mean, today we are so connected. I mean, I sometimes people tell me that, I post too much on LinkedIn. And I don't know it. I mean, I don't know what is posting too much. There are days and months that I don't post at all. And then there are days that I'm posting every day.
Yeah.
So we are so open to communication today that how can you not be out there? I think
Amazing.
the reverse is true.
Yeah. You have to be out there. So your messages to all folks watching and also CA firms, you have to be out there. It's very important. I think that's how even we connected, right? Because if somebody's out there, that's when you know about them and you understand their mind. Like you can read somebody's mind through their post, literally. It's a
Absolutely.
conversation. It's a conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And people can reach out to you. I mean, I think you're doing a LinkedIn live. So I should say
Yeah.
LinkedIn is a great medium where
Yeah.
people can reach out to you. I have so many people who DM me saying exactly this question somebody asked me today in the morning, that I want to change my career. What do I do? You
Yeah.
know. So there are so many people who reach out to you on LinkedIn. So many people you can reach out to on LinkedIn. I mean, I put out a post about a person on, I was doing a run up for Women's Day, and I met her 20 years ago, or maybe even 25 years ago. And she had a massive impact on me then, as a 21-year-old. And when I wrote the post, I didn't expect her to respond, right? Because the impact was on me. She was already a very established, powerful woman leader even at that point. But the fact that she reached out to me or just said, oh wow, I created this impact in your life, keep going, is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. That's great. Pallavi, could you specifically mention any opportunities that you see for CA firms? So if I'm a CA firm, any opportunities you feel that hey, I should look into? Maybe it could be in auditing, it could be in tax, specialization. What do you see? You know?
So in auditing, I think that the NBFC infrastructure in India is evolving, and the regulator has, evolved many sort of nuances of it. So if somebody wants to, look at audit of NBFCs, that's where they should look at or invest in. In tax, international tax is something that is growing. That is something that you should look at, because it's also a lot of people going from our country overseas.
Yeah.
You're sitting in Dubai today. There are more Indians and more CAs in Dubai today than we would like them to be,
Yeah.
because India is feeling the pinch. But
Yeah.
I mean, the world has shrunk. So if you're going to be intercontinental, then businesses are going to be intercontinental.
Yeah.
So to understand, what is the taxation that's coming in Dubai, what can I do there, how will it impact businesses here? So international tax is definitely specifically something that even a small CA firm can get into. It doesn't matter. It could be a small business. Transfer pricing applies with 1 rupee of international business,
Yeah.
or transaction. So there are
Yeah.
no thresholds.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, oh, but investing in a software is very expensive. It is expensive. Why
Yeah.
don't you tie up? Why
Yeah.
don't you say that, okay, search can be done through someone else, or can I look at a pay as you go model
Yeah.
or something like that? So transfer pricing compliance has become very, easy and streamlined now. I see so many CA firms, who reach out to me and say, "Can you do it?" And I always tell them, "But you can do it, right?" Like, no, no, it's very complicated. ये cup और TNM और ये सब समझ नहीं आता है. It's only jargon, right? So I think that a lot of firms can get into TP and international tax. I don't see that as a barrier anymore. I think GST litigation, as income tax litigation is reducing because we're going into faceless, and a lot of things are getting streamlined. Where today our CIT appeals is also faceless. You can look at GST litigation. GST is a new law. It's come in 2017. Over the last few years now, the compliance piece has been digitized to a large extent. Try and use softwares for filing of returns, etc., instead of trying to do it manually.
Yeah.
Invest in technology. Look at value add where you can do GST litigation, and build it from there. So specifically, I think in the future, international tax, GST litigation, and on the audit side, maybe NBFC audits
Yeah.
are something that CA firms can look at specifically.
Amazing. If you can answer this, you can if you can take it up. We've been getting a lot of requests from people like, hey, many CA firms want to move out of audit because now audit has become very stringent with NAFRA coming in, and there's a lot of what do you say, regulation, or you could say over regulation. I have no idea honestly. But what's your take on it? Since you guys are so focused on audit and tax, that's your specialization. If you want to take this question,
Sure.
yeah,
Um, I'm very as a person, and I don't know what the rest of the firm thinks, but I mean, I'm going to say this and say it's totally my personal sort of view.
yeah,
I feel like जो डर गया वो मर गया. Like you can't be scared of it. You
yeah,
have to do the right thing. That is who you are. If as a CA firm you're not looking to cut corners, and of course you can't look at everything, but if you've done right and your working papers are all there, I mean, किस चीज में लाइफ में रिस्क नहीं है. You walk on the road, a car can hit you, right? There's only so much that there's nothing in life that's risk free. So you have to learn what you can do to mitigate your risk. Invest in process, invest in technology, invest in training, invest in your people, do the right thing. Don't try to cut corners. Have all your, you know, all the questions you've asked, have your working papers, um, on file. NAFRA is also coming and looking at your working papers. We already had a peer review.
yeah,
Now you have another peer review, which may be a little bit more stringent than the peer review you had earlier. But at the end of the day, it's a peer review. It's also teaching you, right? NAFRA is not CAs. NAFRA is people who are looking into what CAs are doing and telling them that this, and this should also have been done, right? This is the first round. So
yeah.
NAFRA will also put a regulatory framework in place or a process framework in place, where as an auditor, you will have improved your system. So I don't think people should run away from it. Audit was anyway regulated. Now it's more regulated. And eventually, regulation will help both on the CA side as well as on the company side. You know, you want to be able to go to the market, you want to do IPOs, you want to be listed, you want to get capital. If that is your journey, then regulation is part of your DNA. I mean, you can't run away from it.
Yeah, well said. That's amazing. You spoke about the world is actually one global market right now, right? It's a global economy. So, and India is, they say India is a gateway to the world. So how do you see CA firms, and how can they play a role? A lot of them want to set up offices overseas. Now it's not only India; they want to move overseas. Everybody's in sort of a hurry, right? Especially the younger folks, because you read so much, you want to be a part of that bandwagon. So, what's your take on it? What opportunities do you see?
I think they should absolutely do it. I mean, why not? Right? Like, why should we only have foreign CA firms working in India? Why should we
Yeah,
not have Indian CA firms working overseas? And I think it should be on the shoulders of the young folks to make it happen and to absolutely make it happen in a hurry. I mean, I would love to see in the next 10 years. I mean, usually we send CAs abroad for jobs, So
Yeah.
if CAs can go overseas and open CA firms overseas,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, I mean, I'm a big believer in it, and more power to them. Why not? I would like to see women CAs do it. I would like to see women who have got married outside India and are not getting jobs open up CA firms in those countries. If you need to upskill and if you need to get some certifications to work in those countries, please do it, right? I mean, the world has completely shrunk. Today, you can sit in your house and do work. So, I mean, take it up as a challenge, but absolutely, you should definitely do it. And we are the gateway to the world, and we are also the largest talent provider to the world. I
Yeah.
mean, in terms of our population, I think I don't have the statistics, but 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 people in the world are today Indian,
Yeah.
you know. So if we are that, then why should we only be job, working in jobs? We should be, having our firms out there. I mean, absolutely.
So true. You spoke about women and gender and stuff like that, right? So of course, today we are in a very inclusive. Still, at least the world I have grown up in, it's pretty inclusive. I think my dad always considered me better than my brother, and he still does. And I think that's for most of my friends and people around, right? But as I've been doing a lot of interviews in the finance story, and out of so many people, Pallavi, I can count on my fingers how many women I've interviewed. Okay, they don't say yes to interviews, and secondly, we're also doing the CFO roundtable, and I'm not able to find any women CFO. Like, there are only few, and many of them are not available. Okay, so what's your take on women in this entire in CA firms or in the corporate journey, right? Also, we see a lot of women do CA. Of course, so many of them are doing CA, but many of them don't practice, don't work after a point. I have a lot of my friends as well. So how do you balance that? Okay, and what have you observed in all these years? What's your advice basically to everyone out there? How do you maintain a career, a family, everything?
Um, so I think your question has two parts. One
Yeah.
is that what are we doing for gender inclusivity?
Yeah.
I think that a lot of us, not a lot of us, I think the few of us that
Okay.
are there at the top need to create an environment where we can get more people to the top. CA, Chantel, is a very tough profession.
Yeah.
It's a profession that changes every day.
Yeah.
I may have read a case law yesterday. I may go to argue a matter today, and let's say Delhi High Court has ruled against me in another matter today morning. My child was very sick today. I haven't read that case, and I've gone to argue my matter. My matter is decided against me. The client will not think that, oh, the child was sick or whatever. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter to the client, right? It's the final outcome that matters to the client, that, oh, she wasn't prepared, she wasn't ready. Which is also maybe why women don't want to give you interviews, or are not available, because they feel this is frivolous. I have so many more important things to do, that, I mean, why should I be doing this? Right? So those of us that are there, I think, have the responsibility to first speak up and say that this is important. And this is important because we it is our sort of, I feel that it is our responsibility to inspire and motivate women to not stop working. And again, there, like you said, there are many women that come into the profession. I think when you have your first child, you still have that gumption left to say that, okay, 6 months of maternity and I'll go back. And then you're playing a catch up because your colleagues have moved ahead. The promotions have happened, and maybe the law has changed, the team has changed, technology has changed.
Yeah.
For many, very many reasons, your colleagues have moved ahead, and then you're playing catch up. And sometimes you feel that however hard you try, you are not able to catch up. So something needs to change from the top to say that, after your first child, when you come back,
Yeah.
you are not required to play catch up. And I don't know how that will happen. Like, I don't have the answer for that. Either it's a mind shift, or I don't know how it will happen. And the second problem is when you have your second child, and most women in India have two. So when you have your second child, then coming back. So imagine that you had your first, you haven't caught up yet. Now, 2 years later, you're still playing catch up, or 3 years later, you've had your second child. Now
Yeah.
you're responsible for not only your home, but for now two children. For your body, that's not the same that was. And you are now playing double catch up, right? Which is why after the first child, and I mean, maybe you'll have the statistics, but they say, I think I was hearing somebody yesterday saying that only 17% women come back, and that number drops to single digits after the second child, right? It's exactly for this reason that whether it's CA or anything else, as a woman, you can't constantly play catch up. And therefore, women don't come back because, I mean, it's hard enough working and managing your house and managing your kids. But if to that you add the pressure of, you know, oh, but somebody who started with you is now already at this level and that level and doing this work and that work. I mean, you have that additional mental burden of catch up, which is why women don't come back into the profession. So, I honestly think that there's something that needs to be done
Yeah.
where women are not supposed to play this catch up. You come back, and I think we as organizations need to look at what are we doing for them. Are we making it easier? Are we more flexible? Can they leave early, come in late, still deliver on the deliverable? What can we do? I mean, the ecosystem is not great for women
Yeah.
to come back into work, which is why people leave CA because they feel like, other things are easier to go back to.
Yep.
This is a very grueling full time. Like people ask me, oh, you work full time? And I smile and say, is there any other type? I
Yeah.
mean, I don't understand how you can be a CA part time,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't understand that. So maybe there are people who can do it, achieve it. I don't know. I don't have the answer for that, Chantel. I mean, I'm again somewhere in the middle of my life where I would like to create more impact and more change. And
Yeah.
maybe I don't have the answers today, and I don't have the means to have the answers today for maybe the impact that I would like to create. It also leads to a larger question of the flip. What about the men? Right? Like, then they feel that, oh, but you're giving too much to the women. Why should all these leeways and flexibilities be given only to that one gender, right? So it's not an easy answer, and it's not an easy balance that one can strike between both genders.
How
So
do
yeah.
you how did you plan this out for yourself? Like how do you manage to have both? What's your
so,
mindset?
so firstly, I don't have balance,
Okay.
uh, and I don't know how to achieve that balance. I mean, honestly, I have a great team in the office, and I have a very good support system at home where it's like juggling. Any ball that drops, somebody else is catching. So as a juggler, you're feeling like each time the ball's coming back in my hand, but it's truly being handed to me by someone else who's picked it up when I've dropped it. So, I mean, there are a lot of women who are successful who say, "Oh, but I managed it all, and balance is possible." I'm not there yet. I mean, I don't think that I've balanced it at all. There are days that my family suffers because I need to be at work. There are days that work suffers because I need to be at home. There are days that I suffer because I need to be everywhere. But yeah, I don't have that balance today. I just
It's
have a great uh, support system that supports me every day unconditionally, and that I'm very grateful for.
amazing. So if there are women, let's say CAs who have taken a break and they want to join back, there's huge opportunities. They should be confident, even if it means starting, a little, going a little backward. But then to go ahead, you have to go a little backward. You're saying go for it. That's how it should be. Instead of just feeling that hey, I've taken a break and now it's too late. Be a part of it.
Yeah, so I'll tell you my own example.
Yeah.
So I came back from my second maternity leave, and I was a person who was very involved with everything. And suddenly I wasn't there for 6 months, and when I came back, nobody needed me for anything, right? Everybody at work had learned to do without me. And so I was faced with this question of whether I was relevant, you know, and I had to really introspect and think that, okay, now there's this team of people who needed me for every small thing and now don't need me at all. And there was this organization that needed me for a lot of things that also doesn't need me today. So for the first 3 months of coming back from maternity, I had this struggle of, am I relevant? Right? And this is not very far away. My second child is only 4 years old. So this is only 3.5 years, you know, prior to sitting here today.
Yeah.
So 3 months of feeling not relevant. And then I thought to myself, okay, what can I do? Now, instead of looking at it, glass half full, how can I look at it glass, half empty? How can I look at it glass half full? And I think my friends, my family, really rallied behind me, and said that, look at this like an opportunity. What can you do that you were not doing earlier because you didn't have the time? And I said, okay, and what can I do? So therefore I started, doing more seminars, doing more webinars, being out there more on LinkedIn because I had the time. I
Yeah.
got an opportunity to be part of a chamber of commerce, and I never had that time earlier. I never had the time earlier. So I joined that chamber. This is my third year now with that chamber. And so I did things that I didn't have the time to do earlier. And I told my team, I mean, I was very honest with them, and I said that, you don't need me. I'm not relevant to you today.
Yeah.
And I want you to think about, what do you need from me,
Yeah.
right? Because you have grown, and it's fantastic for your career journeys to have grown now to this point where you now don't need me every day. And you have to truly think about, what do you need me for? So my team is empowered. And now again, we've 3 years later gone back to a situation where they need me a lot. So, but now they need me for things that value add to me every day and value add to them every day. Now they're not coming to me for the stuff that they thought they needed me for and they truly didn't. So I think, even, I mean, going back to your question, if as a woman you want to come back to work, don't come back for your family or for your career or for your colleagues. You have to come back for you. And if every day you can go back home thinking that today was better for me than yesterday, and I've learned something today, irrespective of where anybody else is in their career journeys. Your journey is your personal journey, and your career is your own, and you can make of it whatever you want to make of it. So, I mean, for all of those that are listening, I would urge you to come back to work. We need you at work. I mean, you are a very, very smart person because you did CA. I mean, that in itself should give you the courage. Irrespective of what has changed, you were, are, and will be a smart person, and you can contribute in meaningful ways. So please come back to work and grow each day, irrespective of where anybody else is.
Amazing. So well put. And this is so encouraging and so true. I mean, you've related this to you and shared it with all of us. So that's great. So Pallavi, I'll ask you this last question to conclude this. So to conclude this, what would be your advice to people who want to again get into practice or build a career and who are chartered accountants? Technology is coming in. There's so many opportunities, right? So what's your take? And also, who would you recommend to do CA? Right, there's a lot of folks who want to get into tax. Should they do chartered accountancy, or how should they plan their journey to conclude this conversation?
No, so are you saying that what should people do who are CAs, or what should people do who are not CAs?
Who are CAs already? What would you want to tell them? Okay, in the world that we are in the kind of opportunities we have. Okay, and also those who are studying, maybe they don't know if they want to do CA or not do CA, or but they want to build a career, say, in taxation. So with the new world, like, what kind of qualifications do you believe people should pursue today?
So if you are a CA and there is opportunity out there, I think the earlier you are in your career, the more risk you can take in trying new things. So for people who are freshly qualified, my advice to them would be try new things. I mean, those days of recruiters seeing 2 years of stability on your CA, on your resume, doesn't match with your personality, right? So if you're a vivacious person who likes to try new things, be that in your profession. So try new things, see if you can do 3 months, 6 months, 8 months of different things. And if not, try something else. So my advice to young CAs would be that explore, try. The profession is in your hands. It will be where you will take it, right? So absolutely, try, do, explore, travel. Do things differently. Don't get stuck in that CA mold कि audit करना है, audit के बाद tax करना है, tax के बाद ये अच्छी job लेनी है. I mean, that's not who you are. That's not Gen Z. So
Yeah.
so be who you are. So that I think is my advice for young CAs. For people who are studying and want to do tax, CA is not the only way to do tax. You could also do law and be a tax professional. So CA is not the only way because tax at the end of the day is a law. So you won't be able to do the compliance piece because you can't do certification as a lawyer. But you can also do law and do tax. We have a dearth of good tax lawyers in the country today. I mean, you do this more than me, and you'll know that maybe there are 5 or 10 tax lawyers that practice in various high courts across the country. Maybe we'll have 5 in each court, and where we have lakhs and lakhs of lawyers. So if tax is something you want to do, law is also an equally good place to start to do tax. You don't necessarily need to be a CA unless you want to do the compliance piece as well.
Amazing. That's great. So Pallavi, have I missed anything that you would like to add? Any aspect that you would like to add? Maybe something else from your challenges, your journey. Have I missed any pointer?
I don't think so. If somebody wants to ask any questions and you want to open it up, I'm happy to answer more questions. But nothing that, you know, you're an ace interviewer. So I'm sure that you missed nothing.
I don't know about that, but I do have one question. It's actually not reflecting, but they actually sent me a WhatsApp message. Okay,
Yeah.
the question is, Pallavi, any challenges you can elaborate which you have undergone and you can share with which you can share with us in the journey of in the of your 10-15 years as a CFO,
As a CA firm or as me?
as you and as a CFO.
So as a CA firm, I think the challenge of a lifetime was COVID. How to pivot quickly, how to reach out to your clients, how to allow your employees, not allow, but how to continue to interact with your employees, how to have them at work, how to work, digitally. One fine day our servers just shut down, and we had no way of getting to office. We had no way of disbursing salaries. So I think COVID as a firm was a challenge for us, which we had to, so as a firm, we didn't cut back any employees, we didn't cut back any salaries, we didn't. There were deferred payments, but I don't think that we cut anything. So I think that period for us as a firm was very difficult, and it didn't seem to end quickly.
Yeah,
So while there were a lot of help for businesses and things like that, that
yeah,
help wasn't extended to firms and service providers. So I think that as a firm, we saw a very difficult phase during the 2 years of COVID. Our businesses, our clients were struggling, employees were struggling. We saw a lot of personal loss. So I think COVID was a difficult challenge for us. I'm
was
happy to
tough.
say we're out of it, but I think that was a very difficult period.
Amazing.
Uh,
Every
yeah.
sorry. You're saying something. Sorry, continue.
So for me personally, I think the challenge is overcoming in my head that I'm a woman. Um, when I go for meetings, when I go to seminars, when I go to interact with government, you know, when people say, "Arey, madam," there's a part of me that cringes. I have to stop doing that. Like I've been told that it's something that I have, which therefore generates that response. But so I have to believe that I'm at the table, and once I'm at the table, then my gender should not matter. But to me, in my head, it matters today, and I feel not always included. So that's a challenge that I still have to overcome. In a country where the president is a woman and the finance minister is a woman, as a
Yeah.
woman PA, I don't always feel uh, included.
But that happens to me as well, and I know it's my own mind that happens. Like, a lot of people say, hey, you're doing something great, and I'll be like, no, I still have a long way to go. But if I look at it from another perspective, if it was a guy who'd be like, yeah, I know, and thank you, and I make it like, no, 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 there's a long way to go. But it happens to me very often. I have to catch myself, and I always feel that, hey, I have to still prove. Like, I just feel I have to keep on proving myself, and the other person doesn't look at it the other way. They're like, hey, you're doing some good work, but I still do that always. So,
Yeah.
but your words are so encouraging. I'll take this last question from Rahul. He says, ma'am, is it a good time to start a CA firm, or should I look at something else?
So Rahul, it's always a good time to start a CA firm.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to go ahead. You haven't said how old or young you are. And if that was a consideration in your head, it shouldn't matter. There's always a good time to start a CA firm. There aren't enough of us. It's obviously, I'm not saying it's easier to do a job, but it's obviously riskier to start a CA firm, and high risk, high reward. So I would encourage you to start it.
That's amazing. Cool. So everyone who's watching, if you all have any questions, okay, I can just see a few questions. I think there's a problem over here. But if you all have any questions, please connect with Pallavi. She's very active on LinkedIn, and she's always kind enough to reply. And from our conversation, you can be sure that she's going to reply to you guys. So connect with Pallavi if you have any questions. And yeah, Pallavi, I mean, I'm so thankful for your time. I'm going to make actually a separate article on, the aspect of women, which I was not supposed to touch base so deep, but it is so relevant, and you're speaking about it. So that's amazing. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone for watching. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chantal. Thank you for having me, and hopefully, I've encouraged some people and inspired some.
Yes,
So
you have. Thank you. We're also going to make a summary of this, and we'll put it up on our website. So we've got like 300,000 readers. And I'll also make clips of the different questions that you've answered so well. And I'll put it out there. Thanks a ton for the
thank
time.
you,
Thank you.
thank you, thanks. Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you.